There is a version of you that only existed inside that relationship. The way you laughed around that specific person, the things you didn't say, the parts of yourself you quietly put away to make things work. And when it ended, something strange happened. A few months later, people who knew you were saying things like, "You seem different." Or maybe you noticed it yourself. Interests you didn't know you had, a confidence you couldn't have predicted, opinions you suddenly had no problem sharing. Here's the thing, you didn't plan any of that. It just happened. And today, I want to explain exactly why. Because it tells you something really important about how personality actually works. Hi there, my name is Kelly, and today we are chatting about how we tend to accidentally change our personalities after a breakup. Have you been there? If so, stick around until the end because this will surprise you. Psychologists have a term for this, self-expansion theory. Developed by author and Elaine Aron in the 1990s, the idea is that in close relationships, we genuinely absorb parts of our partner identity, such as interests, perspectives, even traits as our own. Not as a performance, but neurologically, the boundary between self and other actually blurs. So, when a relationship ends, it's not just that a person is gone. Actually, a part of your self-concept is suddenly gone with them. Researchers actually call this self-concept shrinkage. In other words, you lose access to parts of yourself that only existed in that relational context, so in that one-on-one relationship. But here's what nobody tells you. The gap doesn't stay empty. And what fills it? It's fascinating. When your old relational identity is gone, collapses, breaks down, your subconscious mind does something remarkable. It goes looking for who you were before that relationship. And in doing so, it often picks up threads that were suppressed, sometimes for years. This is partly why people come out of long relationships and suddenly rediscover hobbies they love, for instance, when they are 19, or start dressing differently, or become more direct, more creative, more outspoken. It's not regression, it's retrieval. But something else also happens, and this part is more subtle. When you free yourself from the identity that was shaped around that person, your subconscious starts consolidating. The beliefs you had that were actually theirs begin to dissolve, it go away. The emotional patterns you adopted to manage the relationship, such as people-pleasing, minimizing, performing, they start to loosen up because the trigger for them is gone. What emerges isn't always who you were. Sometimes it's who you would have been without the weight of that particular dynamic. And this is huge. Now we know, not everyone has this experience. Some people go through a breakup and come out more contracted, more guarded, more fixed in their identity than before. And why? Psychologist John Bowlby's attachment research gives us a clue. When someone has an anxious or avoidant attachment style, which is really a deep belief about self-worth and safety, a breakup doesn't open them up. It confirms the old story. I knew I wasn't enough. I knew people leave. So the loss then becomes evidence for a narrative that was already running. In other words, the same external event can either crack someone open or lock them further in, depending entirely on the identity narrative they are unconsciously carrying. So, in reality, most people who transform after a breakup don't know they're doing anything intentional. Actually happens to them. But you can make this process conscious, and when you do it, it accelerates dramatically. So here's a reframe that can change everything. Instead of asking, how do I get over this? Ask, who am I without this? Not as a sad question, but as a genuinely curious one. Because the breakup already did the hard part. It removed the identity scaffold that was keeping a certain version of you in place. And what you do with the opening is entirely up to you. Start noticing. What do you want now that you never let yourself want before? What feels lighter now that it's gone? What's returning that was quietly put away? And please keep in mind, those aren't small questions. They're actually the architecture of your new self-concept. Your subconscious is already built in it. The only question is whether you're building it with intention or just letting your old patterns fill the space. In the end, you didn't accidentally change your personality after the breakup. Instead, you accidentally gave yourself permission to it. The version of you that's emerged now wasn't created by the loss. It was just finally allowed out. The real question is, who do you want to consciously decide to become from here? Drop a comment below and tell me, what's one thing about yourself that's coming back or showing up for the first time after a big ending? And if this resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know the next time I upload new videos. You may also want to grab my free Abundance Activation Kit, which includes a self-concept template and plenty of other resources to help you work from the inside out. So, this is what I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you the next time. Take care.